Pop Culture Pastor.
All right, Cody. This is Pop Culture Pastor watch-alongs. We're just starting right off here.
We are.
There's no goofy intro, none of that. This is Pop Culture Pastor watch-alongs. My name is Dave. Cody is here.
I am.
And we are here to review Shrinking Season 3, Episode 7, I Will Be Grape. But first, I wanted to... this episode requires maybe a content note for listeners. The storyline here ends with something strongly implied at the end of the episode of this episode of Shrinking that we will talk about. And so just a little trigger warning for anyone listening that if you are, someone who struggles with intrusive thoughts or anything like that, just warn you. And by the way, also text and call 988. There are people to talk to.
There are. Or your local crisis hotline.
Yes. Anything else, Cody, that we should say before we move on?
I got nothing.
Okay. I just wanted to get that out there because it's kind of a shocking way to end the episode and sort of sad after what is kind of a happy ending. But the scene by scenes here, we start with the cold open check-ins, which are kind of what I have dubbed them.
Mm-hmm.
Where we check in on all the characters before the credits. We start off at the dinner table at Jimmy's and the layered dinner table as it was. But Alice informs Jimmy that because of renovations at Wesleyan, she's going to have to report for preseason soccer training immediately after graduation. I don't know how that works, by the way. I don't know why they wouldn't just, why would you have to come earlier for preseason training because there's a facility issue? What this means for the show is that the summer Jimmy was counting on and planning is essentially gone. And he says, I knew that coach had it out for me, which is hilarious because he says it really. He's not kidding around. Jimmy's face betrays his words when he says, I'll be fine.
This moment with Summer's great.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, you got the usual suspects here now at Jimmy's house. You got Sean, you got Summer, and the jokes are flying about who's going to be there for Jimmy when Alice leaves. Summer offers to move in, explaining that her apartment has become unbearable because her mom is taking up training birds.
How would we know that?
Jimmy briefly considers the idea before asking whether that sounds sad because he genuinely thought about it. Sean reassures him he isn't going anywhere either, though he can't live in the pool house forever.
Big boys!
Hilarious. Jimmy, yeah. I think it's funny because Jimmy, we can all see that he's clearly struggling. Summer offering to move in gets a laugh, Cody, but Jimmy actually considers it for a second. What does that tell you about where he actually is emotionally right now?
He's facing the reality of an empty nest, but I think that it's a momentary lapse. After Allison moves out, I don't think he would be like, yeah, Summer, you can move in.
Yeah.
Especially since, Summer actually has a family.
Yeah, and he immediately catches himself. But I think it's there. I was going to bring this up later in the episode. But I think the last few episodes, they have peppered in these little moments where they're very subtle, where they're meant to show us that Jimmy is struggling more than he lets on.
Oh, it's a change. It's adjustment.
Yeah, there's ups and downs in grief, right? Because I think the tendency might be to think, oh, he's past it. But you have good days and bad days, right?
Mm-hmm.
The whole scene is played for laughs, but it kind of quietly underlines how much of Jimmy's life has been propped up by this unconventional family he's built around himself. And like I said, I feel like that's been a subtle subplot just in the last few episodes. We go to Gabby's office. Early in this episode, Gabby leaves a voicemail joking that if Maya keeps skipping sessions, she's going to track her down and give her therapy anywhere, a gym, a roller coaster. It's warm, it's funny, and it comes off as playing she's completely unaware. And so it comes off for the viewer as like, ugh. It feels kind of rough for the viewer because you're like, oh, she has no idea. And we've been getting all these hints that something is not well and something is not right. And so Gabby's going to spend most of this episode trying to get in touch with Maya, who has canceled her session and won't return the calls. And this episode's not subtle about the fact that something is very wrong, but Gabby keeps getting pulled in these other directions, which mirrors where the last episode, where she was kind of being pulled through the stuff with Derek in the hospital and all that. And that kind of allowed the viewer to see where Maya exactly was at.
So a cancellation isn't out of the ordinary.
No.
Especially considering where Maya had come from of, I'm not really wanting to do this therapy thing, that it's my friends that are making me, or my workplace associate.
Yeah, if we hadn't seen anything, if the viewer hadn't seen anything with Maya, like the last scene last week, I think it would be a lot more mysterious, or maybe not a mystery at all. Like, we'd be like, oh, okay. And then in the end, it would be kind of shocking. But because we know where Maya is at, it's hard. It's hard for us to see that. Cody, this is a question I wanted to ask you. Are there some areas of therapy that require the therapist to be in a certain stage of their life? Because it looks like what they're setting up is, oh, here's Gabby with this dream of what she wants to do, but maybe she's just not in the right place in her life to be able to handle that. Because I would have just assumed that the area she wants to be in will be time consuming for that kind of professional.
So with her being a private practice person, that kind of changes things. Because like if you go into a agency or entity that's already set up, like some of the hurdles and time obligation goes down. I do think that there's also seasons of people's lives that they might connect better with one group of people, or people going through this thing versus that thing a lot better. I know some therapists that are in their 60s and they work great with the population that's like 40 and up. But below 40, if they can, they will try to pass the younger people to someone else that might work with them better. So knowing what your strengths and limitations are, and as your seasons of life go, it's going to change.
Yeah. Derek has returned home following his bypass surgery, but Liz already has more than enough on her plate, because we see that Derek's mother, Constance, or Connie, is played by Candice Bergen, has been staying with them for a couple days, and Liz can feel herself slowly losing her mind. We see a Liz under pressure here. The problem isn't that Connie has been difficult. Liz tells Gabby she's been suspiciously pleasant, which Liz finds even more threatening. She describes it perfectly to Gabby. She says the right words with the right tone, and then she holds eye contact for an extra few seconds so I can feel the judgment that no one else can. She's an evil genius, Cody.
She is.
We go then quickly to Paul meeting with another Parkinson's patient. The new guy tells Paul he used to have such a strong voice, and he hates the voice exercises, which is a recurring theme. Paul mentions that it helps him yell things that really annoy him, such as, kids shouldn't be allowed in restaurants, and Dick shouldn't be short for Richard.
He's not wrong.
I've always thought that. Yeah. Why is that the nickname? We should get rid of that. The other guy gets into it and yells it too. Twins confuse and frighten me.
Exactly.
That scene is gold, man. He tells Julie in this scene right after it that he's not really super pumped about it. He's become a positive role model for these patients. That's what Julie tells him, and that she's proud of how he's handling both his illness and the work. And Paul deflects sincerity with humor, as always. His bilateral tremors have gotten worse, as he describes it, having 24/7 jazz hands. Fossy, fossy, fossy. And yeah, so it's a sweet scene. I love we get those little scenes with him and Dr. Julie that kind of show that he gets what he needs from her. You know what I'm saying? Like he pretends to be a character that doesn't need anything.
It's kind of bananas, though, that we have a series with the actress that plays Dr. Julie, and she's like only in episodes for like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
There's so many characters and so many storylines that they cannot possibly focus on all the individuals and moving pieces. Like Summer is typically reliable for some laughs, but Again, she's only in it for like 10 seconds.
Yeah. We're just showing up and cashing a paycheck.
That's my dream.
For that 30 seconds of work from Dr. Julie. She's a great actress. I don't know her name off the top of my head, but I've seen her in many, many other things. Jimmy and Tia at the piano, we get this flashback scene before the opening credits. So it's weird because we have like the regular opening check-in, cold open check-ins. And then we see Jimmy at the piano, and it takes you a couple seconds to realize, oh, this is a flashback. And immediately what I noticed was, to the viewer, this is a different Jimmy, and that's kind of what clues you in before you see Tia. He's just way different. He seems more confident. And in this flashback, the two are singing 1,000 Years by Christina Perri while Jimmy plays the piano.
Very jovial.
Yes, it's very happy. Tia has misheard the lyric, I will be brave, and insists it's I will be grape.
That makes sense to me.
And she declares herself the grapiest girl, and he's the grapiest guy. And that's great stuff here. Jason Segel, as the viewer can tell here, as I said, this is a very different Jimmy from the one we know. And Jason Segel acts it great. He's confident, happy. He seems comfortable in his own skin. I don't know if there's a word for that.
Being comfortable in your own skin. It's multiple words.
That is many words. But it's beautiful work by the show because the scene cuts back to the present where Jimmy sitting alone at the piano, the lights darken, and it's this very simple transition. But some of Jason Segel's best work and like maybe most devastating work in the series. Everything gets darker. The tone of the song changes as Jimmy hits the lyric, I have died every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I'm going to love you for 1,000 more. And the entire episode is built around this memory flashback.
It's this back and forth of past to present day that you're like, oh, Jason might actually be a really good actor.
Yeah,
not
man.
just a funny guy.
Like when I say it's incredible stuff, this was like, oh, this is the clip you put in for the Emmy.
Give him an EGOT.
Anyway, so the episode's going to be built around this memory, Tia's birthday. This is all fleshed out as we transition to Jimmy, Alice, and Brian talking about the memory as they're going for a walk. And everyone ends up being determined that this year they're going to celebrate it rather than survive it, which is actually pretty healthy.
It's a positive reframing.
Yes. And then we get the opening credits, and Cody can just want to think again.
That song's so good.
Cody, say something about the song. You rarely do this.
Like Ben Gibbard, criminally underrated.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We get this great little scene after the credits with Jimmy telling Alice that since this is the last time they'll spend the anniversary together, that they're going to celebrate it. It's just sort of like a continuation of what we just heard. Alice is distracted because Jimmy is making a leftovers omelet, which
Pew, pew, pew.
yeah, while making funny noises with Brian. A leftovers omelet, Cody, we find out, is an omelet made with whatever leftovers were in the fridge, which was Alice's mom's favorite, or as Brian calls it, a vomlet.
That's what it looked and sounded like.
I laughed out loud with that. The vomlet. And Brian's face was perfect. We go to Liz and Derek's house where Gabby shows up to offer Liz support with the mom-in-law.
And garlic breath.
She is, quote, housed an order of garlic knots on the way, which I will now be working into my everyday nomenclature.
As one does.
Gabby's presence at the house is the perfect way for the show to emphasize how bizarre the Liz and Constant dynamic is from an outsider's perspective. Although, I don't think it's that bizarre if you have in-laws. Like, especially if you're the woman who is dealing with the mom-in-law. Because I think what we find out later is that, like, these are very natural things happening here. That they're actually very similar people.
They are. Also, I thought Connie looked more like, or Liz looked more like Connie than Derek looked like Connie.
Right? Yeah. Well, how come Derek doesn't look like Murphy Brown?
That's a good question.
Yeah, Gabby immediately clocks the tension in the room and can barely contain her reaction. She's great in this scene. It's great comedy, but it also serves the plot. Gabby is being pulled into Liz's world again, and this is like, we keep seeing this, as, at this moment where Maya is just off her radar. And I feel like maybe not in this scene, but there's scenes where the viewer is reminded that like, oh, there's this unchecked box that is kind of making us nervous.
The thing with Gabby is so much is going good. I have had this happen so many times within my therapeutic career of feeling like, everything's going good. And then you get blindsided by things.
The trick is you don't say it out loud.
Don't acknowledge it.
Little thing right here at the end, Matthew is doting on his dad. And Liz mentions she might make a good physical therapist in a very not so disguised way of like, hey, maybe you should do something with your life. But if you're going to do something I approve of as a job that won't embarrass me.
I didn't take it like that. I just took it like, oh, that's a potential career path, not the don't embarrass me path.
We go to the cemetery where Jimmy, Alice, Brian, and Summer are at Tia's grave in silly graphic T-shirts that she bought them. Problematic shirts, as they referred to them as.
Love Jimmy's.
What's up, dog? And they play a game called Chubby Bunny.
This game is banned from like a lot of church camps.
Yeah.
For very
you were being serious.
Yeah, no, for very obvious reasons. Like insurance companies have told churches in particular, especially in states of incidents happening like we get in this episode.
Yeah. Basically, the game consists of stuffing marshmallows in your mouth and saying, I love you, Mom, or I love you, Tia. It's their version of the game.
You're just so say Chubby Bunny.
It's absurd scene. It's deeply loving all at once. It's exactly the kind of...
Lewis is here, by the way.
Yeah, I'm getting to that. It's exactly kind of the scene that the show does really well. And that's when Lewis makes his return. He actually does right before Chubby Bunny. He reveals the decision to get back to his life has been going very well. It's a big success. And he's met someone he's dating again. He also has a beard now, which multiple characters note make him dramatically more attractive. And
why
also,
would he ever shave it?
And also look a lot more like Roy Kent.
A lot more.
He nearly chokes on marshmallows. That's the kicker.
That's why insurance companies tell churches not to allow that game at youth groups or church camp.
He nearly chokes on him playing Chubby Bunny, to which Brian awkwardly yells, "She almost got you back!"
They did some dark humor this episode.
And I'm telling you what, it worked for me because there were a few lines where I laughed out loud, and that was one of them. Sean and Jorge approach Gabby about asking for help. They've been sparring at the gym, and as more people have joined their little group, some have come wanting to add group therapy, specifically for vets dealing with post-traumatic stress. And so they come to Gabby asking like, hey, would you be interested in leading this up? And she's very interested, but she wants free food for a week, including the immediate deep frying of any food of her choice without judgment, Cody. That's important.
How's she going to know if they're judging? Maybe without outward judging.
She's immediately excited, though. This is the kind of work that actually lights her up. She's getting into the hard, messy, underserved places where people are struggling. And it sets up the trauma center idea as something that feels genuinely earned for her character. We see that with Gabby. This is clearly the area of work she wants to be. We go to Paul's office, which is it's a sort of a support group, but Paul's in it.
Yeah.
So we've got Jerry, Michael J. Fox, along with one of Paul's earlier patients named Ray. The scene's way too short, first of all. I need all the MJF.
And Ray's always funny.
Yes, Ray's great. I don't know what that actor's name is, but he's perfect.
He's the janitor from Scrubs.
Jerry asks Ray what's wrong with him. He clearly doesn't have Parkinson's, and Ray says, I have stage 1 prostate cancer. And without missing a beat, Jerry says, that's cool, you can stay. Again, the dark humor in this episode did just rule. It was so good. Jerry reminds Paul of what he told him after Paul kind of comes clean about what he's struggling with. Don't focus on what you can't do, but focus on the small joys. He pushes Paul to think about his legacy instead. And this is Paul getting his own advice given back to him, which is kind of cool. And it's funny and it's poignant. We go to Brian's house. We get a little scene here with Brian, Lewis, and Jimmy. Lots of funny stuff here with the nanny, who seems like she's just here for the jokes.
Another character that's here for like 15 seconds.
But mostly this scene serves to show how well Lewis is doing in San Diego, and conversely, how much Jimmy is, the struggle underneath the veneer of Jimmy. Again, this scene kind of shows that. And nothing shows that more than Jimmy's kind of cringy reaction to Lewis's good report, which is great acting by Jason Segel again, where he like catches himself.
Maybe I will kill your...
That's it. More dark humor. Maybe I'll kill her.
Yes.
Which is super dark, by the way.
Yeah, the use of dark humor in this episode can be quite realistic, though. So...
Absolutely, yeah.
I was fascinated, and also we get a revelation from Lewis that Allison hadn't just called to say that they were doing that.
Alice,
sorry.
Yeah.
Alice had actually begged for him to come to the graveside.
Yeah, because Alice notices what the viewer was meant to notice, that Jimmy is on the outside veneer doing better than he actually is. Liz's kitchen, Matthew gives Connie a pair of Jordans. She likes the jumping guy in the tongue. How many Jordans do you have, Cody? Or have you bought in your life? Maybe that's a better question.
2 pair.
That's it? Just 2?
Yep.
Thought you were a bigger Jordan guy than that.
I did get a new Jordan shirt, though, this weekend. So
Matthew explains that he's quite the shoe-flipping entrepreneur online. And when she hears how much he's making flipping the shoes, she just kind of flippantly throws it out there. Oh, you should do that for a living, which we can tell immediately draws Liz's ire, because Liz, wants him to have a real job. But the hilarious part of this is when Connie suggests that Matthew should do it full time, you can tell the thought had never occurred to Matthew. He's a bit dim, Cody.
I do know that a lot of people, especially when they're stuck, they don't really acknowledge their strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, when Connie suggested this, I'm like, oh, that's a good strength-based perspective there.
Yeah.
Constance.
Well, it makes sense, too, because I'm like, yeah, he should. Why isn't he doing that?
Also, it's not like mom and dad aren't bankrolling him. Even now, they are still like, you can stay at this place that we're renovating. We just hope that you'll renovate it.
Yeah. Anyways, this sets off Liz, and her and Connie get into it. Derek overhears the whole thing, and that's going to lead to him bailing on the house.
Run away.
Which for a man in his condition post-surgery is not great. We go to Paul's office where, bolstered by the conversation with Jerry and Ray, Paul approaches Gabby with a major offer. He wants to give her the practice. The building, the business, all of it. It's a profound gesture of trust, and Gabby declines because she's already feeling like she does important work, and she's wanting to spend more time doing this other work that she's had her heart set on. And Paul reassures her that whatever she chooses is going to be the right decision. Though Paul says he understands, the disappointment is evident when they hug it out. It's a complex moment, which this show's good at. But Gabby saying no is an act of self-confidence and self-knowledge on her part. And it's absolutely the right call for her. But we get to see Paul's worries in his face of her saying no. Paul's life work is without an heir, and it raises the question of what happens to the practice now. Because Jimmy, as Gabby points out, would have said yes immediately.
Yes.
Which makes the contrast between Gabby and Jimmy very interesting as well.
But I also think that although Jimmy would say yes, I don't know if him running a whole practice with multiple providers is maybe his cup of tea.
Yeah. And as Paul points out, the name of it is cognitive behavioral therapy, which he doesn't even use anymore.
Yeah. Shame. CBT works with a lot of different conditions, and it is backed by a lot of studies.
Just to be clear, Cody is anti-Jimmying.
not anti it completely. Just maybe we sprinkle it in.
Good. That's a good answer. After the cemetery, Jimmy questions Alice on why she invited Lewis without telling him. Alice explains her reasoning. She wanted Jimmy to see how well Lewis was doing and what kind of impact that Jimmy had on him. She tells him, Dad, you helped the one person in the world you had the least reason to, and I wish you could do that for yourself. So it's clear, again, that Alice has noticed past the fake exterior that Jimmy's put up and that he's struggling a bit. Probably be brought on by the fact that she's leaving. She's going off to college, but we get some great acting here by Lukita Maxwell, who plays Alice, because the audience really gets to see the struggle she's having in this moment, feeling that like this is a lot of pressure on an 18-year-old kid of having had to be the one in the house who had to soldier on in life and take care of things and worrying about what happens when she goes away for college.
Yep.
Jimmy tells her he just wants to go out and have a good life and stop worrying about him. And so it's a scene that finally gives Jimmy the push he needs.
Get out of here, kid.
It's a very good scene, and there was just a bunch of good acting in this episode.
And they're both going to pretend to act normal.
Yes. Paul finds himself at Liz's house and ends up in an impromptu kitchen conversation with Connie. We get Harrison Ford and
Murphy Brown.
Candice Bergen. She asks him if he has a rock, which is Liz's signature gift for the people she truly cares about. He admits he does and that it's meaningful to him. Connie looks disappointed and asks Paul why Liz wouldn't want to learn from her experience. She's lived a long, full life and feels like Liz isn't interested in what she has to offer. And this is the first window we get into Connie's actual interior monologue here. It's not her full intent to undermine Liz. She doesn't just hate Liz. She's trying to show that she has something to offer and being completely shut out, which is a common struggle of the elderly. A side note, Bill Lawrence shows highlight these mundane, everyday struggles of humanity so well. And they do it again here. Do you know anybody in your life that has struggled with getting older and having these same feelings of like, why doesn't anyone notice the usefulness that I have?
Oh, I've known several people like that. And it's interesting because I would say before the computer, web, social media age, that was still kind of an issue, but it became a lot worse just because like now you're being told over and over, like, seek your own truth, and they can't tell you what to do, and boomers, and like, yeah, now there's definitely more of a push with intentionality of kind of shunning that, which is probably to our detriment. That there is some helpfulness of knowing what to kind of expect because someone else has already gone through it, that you don't have to learn the hard way like they did.
Yeah. Paul, as always, serves as the bridge between people here. He says, unfortunately, the younger people in our lives don't seem to want what we have to offer, which is a callback to what had just happened with Gabby. Cody, Paul is clearly struggling with the idea of legacy, what he leaves behind when he's gone. From a pastoral standpoint, how would you counsel people who are in that season of life? They're trying to figure out what their life meant, what they're leaving behind.
I would remind them that the things that you have done, the kids, the grandkids that you have brought into this world, they're your living legacy. As long as people remember who you are, you're going to be talked about after your death. But also, this is an opportunity for you to, like, if your family's not needing the assistance right now, maybe there's something that you can be doing out in the community or in your local church that could help out.
Yeah. There's nothing humans overlook more than the relationships they've had and the light that they've shared with people. I think we don't realize enough how much of a legacy that is. We find out Derek's gone at the end of that scene. Derek's missing.
Derek running away.
The stress between his wife and his mom became so much for him that he quietly slipped out of the house and he walks to the neighborhood park where we find him sitting on a bench clutching his cardiac pillow. When asked why he left, he says he doesn't feel safe at home because of all the tension. And it's played partly for laughs, Cody, with Derek, but with Derek risking a second cardiac event to escape passive-aggressive women, it's also genuinely concerning, given what he's gone through. So Paul offers to walk him home and very sternly suggests that Liz and Connie hash it out on the bench. And that's what we get. We get this, first of all, incredible scene. This might be the scene of the episode with the two actors here in Candice Bergen and Miller. Liz and Connie's park bench conversation is everything shrinking does best. You've got these two characters who are very nuanced, who have complaints that have gone too far and these grudges they've been holding, and they just lay it all out for each other. Connie starts by apologizing for breaking Liz's rule about criticizing her parenting. Liz recognizes that she probably does need to let Matthew find his own way, apologizes for blowing up when Connie gave actually good advice, which she relents. They don't suddenly become best friends, as Connie says. We're not there yet.
We learned that Derek has a brother.
That she, that Connie made some mistakes with, that may be similar to Matthew. But they find this shared ground that has always been underneath their tension. They both love Derek. They both want what's best for the family, and they're both actually pretty good at what they do, at being moms. Candice Bergen and Miller play beautifully off each other. Two incredibly smart, self-aware women who are almost exactly alike in how they operate, which is why they can't stand each other.
But they're not close enough yet that they could be putting hands on shoulders.
Nope. We're not there yet. Jimmy apparently somewhere in here off camera asks Sofi out.
Thank you, Lewis.
Yeah, and Alice. Because
yes.
Alice's honesty, with her seeing Lewis thriving, Jimmy finally reaches out to Sofi, and we don't see that moment, but Sofi is present at the last scene in the show, which is the sing-along scene, the piano. The whole gang is gathered around Jimmy's piano, and he's playing 1,000 Years. Sean is playing the guitar. The group is singing together, swapping I Will Be Brave for I Will Be Grape in Tia's honor. And it's one of the more bittersweet, beautiful moments that this show has probably ever produced. It's a great scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sofi steps into frame, enthusiastically joining in, very much out of tune, arriving early in the lyric.
Very early.
And she awkwardly jokes that she doesn't usually meet someone's entire family on a first date, especially when it also falls on their dead wife's birthday / dead mom.
She didn't break down crying.
No. The cringe is actually amazing and lovely.
It is.
Yeah, it's very endearing.
It's adorkable.
And it's offset by the laughs as Gabby says, she's super weird. I like her.
Yes.
And we get this feeling of like, oh my goodness, everything's going right. All is right with the world.
You're pretty. I like your hair.
Yeah, it's just this wonderful feel-good moment. And then Jimmy winks at Alice, and yeah, it feels like everything's going to be okay. And then as this show does, we see that Gabby has gotten several missed calls from a Donna, who is that the patient that originally referred Maya?
I think that's the wife from the couple.
Okay, so she answers the phone, and what's clearly said to her is, we lost Maya, because she says, what do you mean we lost Maya? We're not privy to the details, but you don't need to be.
Yeah.
You can see it on Gabby's face, and you can see in her face that she's immediately blaming herself for it. Like the realization of all of it comes across her face so well. And again, just incredible acting in this episode. The camera stays on her. The piano is playing in the other room. The episode ends as the song slowly switches from the jovial version that Jimmy was playing to the actual version by Christina Perri.
Yes.
Cody, before we talk about what Gabby's going to go through as a therapist, what is the actual protocol when something like this happens to a patient you've been working with? Like, what does the profession say on how to process this?
Well, that's going to probably be different practice to practice. Like I know at my agency, they kind of do a mental health autopsy that they kind of review all the files over the patient, all the protocols and safety plans and stuff. They talk with the police. They do all those sorts of things, but then they also talk with the therapist that has had this happen, offering support, encouraging them if they need to utilize the employee assistance program, that they can definitely do so. It's a very serious time, but they also want to be very supportive. Private practice, because this is what this place is. I imagine that Paul will definitely try to do some support/counseling.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking because not only have we lost a character that we were kind of starting to like,
Yeah.
but also it's heartbreaking from the standpoint of Gabby, who, as we said, has a line of sight on everything the direction she wants to go professionally, personally. We know Derek's about to propose. And now this is how life goes sometimes.
Yep. I'm not glad that happens, but I'm glad that this show doesn't hesitate to show you that this sometimes goes awry, that things don't always work out. Kind of like Jimmy with his client that pushed her fiance over the cliff.
Yeah.
It doesn't always go the best route, but as a provider, you kind of have to learn from it and move on as best as you can.
Yeah, I'm like you said, I'm not glad, of course, it happens in the story, but I'm glad that they're courageous enough as a show to say that, like, they take a lot of liberties of showing us a lot of funny things that happen through the therapizing. I'm glad that they're willing to show, like, hey, it doesn't always work out into the best outcome for therapists and their clients. And so, it's tough, and sad, but it's something that we need to be aware of. And the more we're aware of it, the more we can see people who feel unseen. And I think that's the point. Song of the episode, I think, is pretty obvious, Cody. It's 1,000 Years.
I thought you were going to say it was the theme song. But no. So I actually know this song, 1,000 Years, by one Christina Perri, quite well. When I went on my first date with my wife, the first song that was playing while we were together was Arms by Christina Perri, which is a phenomenal song. But the song that my wife walked down the aisle to was 1,000 Years.
Nuh-uh!
So, yes, this song, I like as soon as you get it in the first scene with Jimmy and his wife, that I was like, oh, emotional. I feel this in my heart right now.
1,000 Years, written by Christina Perri and her producer, David Hodges, for the Twilight Saga. Breaking Dawn, were you aware of that?
Yes. I knew that it was on the album. I didn't know if it was written for the album or not.
Yeah, the story's actually quite charming. Perri was a self-described hardcore Twilight fan who had the book covers framed on her wall.
My wife also a diehard Twilight fan.
When she got the call to write a song for the film's wedding scene, she dragged her writing partner, David Hodges, to a screening of the movie, who is a grown man. He was not excited to see the Twilight movie. They went anyways, and she cried through the whole thing, went home, and wrote this song. The key lyric here is, "I will be brave." And that's the part of the key moment of the episode, is Tia getting that lyric wrong, singing "I will be grape" instead. And the show kind of building on the entire birthday tradition. And what makes this also beautiful is what that lyric actually means in the context of the song. Perri wrote it for a love story about someone who's been waiting, afraid to take that first step, mustering the courage to finally move toward the person they love. "I have died every day waiting for you." That's not just a Twilight lyric, Cody. That's Jimmy's entire arc.
It is.
And so 3 seasons of a man who's loved someone for a metaphorical 1,000 years, lost her, and has been standing at the edge ever since, afraid to move on. And Tia mishearing "brave is grape" tells you everything you need to know about her. She turned a song about fear into something silly and joyful and hers.
Also, vampires can live for 1,000 years.
This is true. And apparently they glitter. Who grew for you in this episode, Cody?
I'm going to say Paul.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't want to say Jimmy.
You know what the best part about this show is? You can't be wrong.
Paul's coming head on into his okay, like the end is near for me professionally, which has been everything that my life's been about for the past 50 years or whatever. The end is getting closer for my life.
Yeah, mortality-wise.
Mortality-wise, especially with Parkinson's progressing more quickly for him. You get to see him kind of go through what Jimmy goes through, that like he has the outward facade that everything's okay, that he's doing good, that he's suffering in silence. But he really is struggling with it. And that I love it when Michael J. Fox's character throws it back in his face that like, well, you told me this. Sometimes we need to hear those wise words that we once said.
Yes.
And him trying to gift the practice to Gabby, he knew it was going to be an easy slam dunk with Jimmy. Mm-hmm. He knew it. He also knows Gabby would be the actual one to carry it through. He's facing this legacy thing, but also he accepts her saying, well, that's not my dream, and that he's willing to support her going forward with her own trauma clinic.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I went with Jimmy. All season, we've watched Jimmy do this thing where he's kind of holding it together on the outside. He looks like he's doing fine, but the cracks in the last few episodes have started to shine through as the pressure of losing his daughter, becoming an empty nester was maybe getting to him. He says he's going to be fine when Alice leaves. He says he's going to be okay. He does the bit, but the cracks have been showing up. And Alice has been paying attention. She notices. So she didn't invite Lewis to the cemetery to be cruel. She did it because she needed Jimmy to see his own reflection in a way.
I thought it was really weird that he showed up at first.
I did too. It's like once we get let in on that information, I was like, what's Roy Kent doing there? She didn't invite Lewis to the cemetery there, though. She invited him there because she wanted him to see how well she was doing. That someone he had every reason to give up on was out there living his life again and thriving because of him, because of Jimmy. And Jimmy can't do that for himself yet, but here's how he grows this week. Jimmy hears her. We get actual proof by the end of the episode that he didn't deflect that. He didn't crack a joke. He didn't change the subject. He clearly at some point sat with that and then picked up the phone and called Sofi.
Which I also thought, weird first date.
Yeah. And he's like, look, at the beginning of the episode, he's basically saying how he's not really doing that. When Lewis says, have you called Sofi? He's like, no, but I did go out on a date. But he's kind of using that as a deflection as well of saying why he shouldn't go out on a date because she was a wreck. And so by the end of the episode, we get a Jimmy who's looks like he's past that. And that's good. How many grapes out of 10 are you giving this episode?
It's a solid 9.
Yeah, me too. This was a 9. This was better than last week's episode. And now from here on out, I feel like we're going to get into the nitty gritty, the tough stuff.
Oh, yeah. I got guesses about my dear friend Gabby.
Yeah, I'm scared. I'm scared because things were going so well for Gabby, but this is going to be tough. I think the last however many episodes, plus we're getting Paul coming down to the end of his professional road too, and whatever health things, I'm sure we're going to get some of that too.
And maybe the end of us getting Michael J. Fox. I don't know.
Don't you take MJF from me.
I won't.
All right. Everybody, tell us what you thought of Shrinking Season 3, Episode 7, I Will Be Grape. And again, if you are struggling in any way, if you need someone to talk to, there are ways you can text, you can call 988. Don't just sit there alone. Talk to somebody.
Talk to your friends, talk to a therapist, talk to a church person, whoever. And if you need extra support, that 988 number is always there.
Absolutely. Awesome. We'll see you next time.